Good morning. Today I'm just going to go through my levels for today's trading session. It's the 19th of December and I'm just going to take a quick look at the news so we see where we are for today. We've had 8:30 data drop and we've got some news, so we'll have a look and see how that's expected. We do have some news today and we've got Fed speaking at 12:30, probably the only one to be wary of, and some after hours news as well. So just be wary at 12:30 today. That's the next lot of news which could affect the market. So on my screen is the 1 hour MES or the ES chart for the S&P Index 500 futures. See, we put in this double top, still looking pretty bullish, and right now I still want to go with the trend. So trying to probably similar levels to what we had yesterday really. So I quite like a bounce back down at 47.88 area. Let's just change the colour. This area here, 47.88, 47.90 for a bounce, and that's continuation with the trend. And we've got the all-time high sitting here at 48.07.75. Maybe we could watch for a rejection there. We saw a big rejection yesterday when we got to 4800. Nice, biggest rejection there. Wasn't sustained because obviously we just grinded up since. So there's not really any decent levels now. We're right in the area. So 4800 is where we are. We're right below the 4800. If I were to find a higher risk bounce, potentially 47.98, but that's a high risk bounce, and that's only based on the bodies of yesterday's candles and the tops of the pre-market and maybe the bottoms of this candle if it does look to curve over. So potentially as a bounce here at 47.98.75, but I think I really want to see it come back down to this area. And we've got tops of candles, and then bottoms of candles. So this is the area I really want to see. So this area here, 47.88.25 for a bounce, and potentially a higher risk rejection at 48.07.75, which is an all-time high rejection. I've not looked at the level 2 yet. Let's have a look, see if there's any sellers sitting there. 48.07. I'll just bring this in. So I'm looking at Bookmap. This is on YouTube, called Think with Bookmap. Quite decent. 48.10. Look at this big area there. So lots of sellers sitting at 48.10 area, just above, and probably starting about 48.07, which is right at the all-time highs. And that's it. So just bear that in mind as well. Potentially we're watching for rejection up here, 48.07 to 75. There's the only two levels I can see really. If we see a big sell-off, I think the same levels we discussed over the last few days. So we've got the bounce area here, which is 47.62. Maybe that pivot there, that could be our stop if we had to put a stop in. So with a stop loss at 47.57, that's a $5 stop. Or we can watch for a bounce here, but there's not much for it to bounce. There's a big void below as well. If we're coming down to here, we're probably going to close this gap as well. So I do quite like the bounce at 4700, but we're away from that as well. We're right at 4800 right now. So not really much to play with. Just have a look at the daily for a second, see what the volume's like. Okay, so makes it a little bit interesting. Decline in volume on increase in price, showing potential weakness. I still quite like a bounce around this area. We are very, very extended. We're very far from the 200 moving average, the 50 moving average, the 20 moving average, and even the 5 moving average. We're quite far away from all of them. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight red days as well. So we are due a pullback. Probably that area would be a good area, 4600. When we're going to get at, maybe today, but we don't know. But look at the volume from yesterday, low volume, full body candle. But look at this candle as well. We've got a wide range candle. This candle here, wide range candle, but with lower volume than the small candles we've had here. So we had lots of more volume in these areas. Indecision, indecision, relatively green candle with a bit of indecision at the end of the day when we got to 4800, and today we just see where we are. It is a holiday week as well, so people there may be less volume in the market this week anyway because of people breaking up early for Christmas. So just to recap, there's not very many levels to watch for, so maybe today's a day not to trade. If we see a bit of a sell-off, I quite like the bounce at this level here, 47.88. If we see a bit of a rally, maybe a rejection, high risk rejection at 48.07.75. That's the all-time highs, and we know there's a few orders sitting up there at the moment, but we won't really know how many orders there until the market opens. They're the only two levels. And we did talk about a high risk bounce, which kind of might have just seen that bounce there at 4800. In fact, we talked about 48.98, 48.99 for a bounce, and there's no buyers below there as well, so it may not even bounce. But anyway, that's it really for MES SPY. The only place I can see on SPY is this level I've marked off yesterday. 47, 471.61 is a potential bounce. Higher risk because it's not close to where we are. But I can't see any decent, maybe a reject on this double top. 44.74, higher risk double top there. And then we obviously got the bounce areas like we have on MES at 469 for a bounce, or this area here at 465. Which potentially we could be meeting up with the 200 moving average by the time we get there as well, 464. That's it for SPY, Qs. So we're currently looking at the weekly, and we're so close to all-time highs as well with Qs. Maybe with MES, SPY and Qs we're going to see a bit of unfinished business, all-time highs, and then the reject. So, but we're very extended. What's this? The weekly. We're up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Currently 8 weeks in a row. We have had increase in volume on the last few weeks. So increase in volumes are getting up to the all-time high areas. So no real sign of weakness there, even though it's very extended. Again, higher than average volume the last few days. No real weakness again, unlike we saw on the MES a minute ago. All-time highs very close as in sight. Eyes on the eyes, as you could say. Maybe that's our reject area, 407, 409 area for a reject. I think that's the area to watch for a reject. And then a bounce, we could be watching that area there, 394.40 through to 390.50 for a bounce, this area here, and that's with the trend as well, but we are very extended on the trend. And then going to the hourly, that's a daily bounce level, 400. Yeah, okay, so on the hourly chart got a higher risk bounce here at 405.50. that's a area from the last few days, similar to SPY, on off of the 50 as well. That's a higher risk bounce if we see a bit of sell-off, but then we've got higher probability bounces around here, 400 on the dot, a nice round number. NQs, this is a weekly, and we've hit all-time highs, and we're now in no man's land, or in the void above. So potentially we need a bit of a pullback here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks up so far. We've had a few weeks we've been up, so let's just find a potential area. 16,000, nice round number. That's our bounce area. So if we pull back down to that area, we may look to continue trend. So that could be a swing trade. Daily, interesting. We got reduced volume there, really low volume. So 8th of December, and then we had increase in volume as the bars come up, but the bars wasn't really getting much bigger, so you want to see bigger as the volume is increasing, you want to see wider and even wider bars, but we didn't see that here. So all similar sized bars but with increasing volume. And then we had that big indecision candle, higher than average volume, and then we've had reducing volume on reducing volume for these last few candles. So potentially there's some signs that we may see a reversal, but we need to see the reversal candle first. Maybe a rejection back down to this area. As we said, 16,000 was a round number, this area on the weekly, so this is an area to watch for a bounce. Let's go into the hourly quickly. In fact, if we get back down to 16,868, this area here is a potential bounce area, and there's no rejections, all I can see is continuation. And then look at oil, my door for delivery, and if it's Amazon, they never leave, they never hang around. Oil, we've been watching this area 67.20, this inverse head and shoulders setting up, and we've got the neckline. This area here is a potential area of confluence. See how just there, kind of come through, retest it off the 50 as well, and we're pushing back up. So maybe we've missed that potential area there, but we've got this area here as watch for a potential target or a break and retest long. But ideally we want to see it put a double bottom in. It hasn't really put in a head and shoulders pattern. Left shoulder, head, a little mini right shoulder, not very convincing, but it did break it and retest that area, and it looks like it's pushing up in the right direction. So maybe it's not a great pattern, but this is the area I really wanted to get in on, but we missed that, but that's fine. It's always another trade. And then gold, still hovering around this area. Might be worth waiting for the breakout, which touches area once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Are we going to come through it, touch it for the 5th time and reject, or the 5th time are we going to see it break through? So I would probably watch for a break and retest of 220.56, and that's it really. Nothing significant on. There's not really many great levels today. So there's this higher risk bounce area around here, 47.88, maybe at this point in the control area. Higher volume, probably I'd say about there. This is a 5-minute chart. Potentially there, if you look on the hourly, what is that? That's 47.95. Oh, we talked about that, didn't we? That area. Higher risk, 47.95, that area there is what we talked about on the hourly. There's a potential higher risk bounce, but nothing I can really see. Let's get rid of these trend lines for now. In fact, keep that one, and let's duplicate that to see where it fits. Look at that, roughly there if you take the bodies of the candles. So potentially we're in that upward trend, Chan, and if we could be waiting for a break of structure. So we're in the upper half of this at the moment, showing potential strength, but potentially we could watch for the break of this structure down, or we can watch for the break up and high, so that would be the break and retest of all-time highs. But yeah, that's really fabricating trades. I think higher risk rejection or higher probability bounce, and a higher risk bounce in that area. So 47.95, 4800 for bounce, 47.62 higher probability bounce, and obviously we had that area here, 47.88 for bounce as well. A bit better than the lower risk one here. So that's the main areas I'm watching for. I'm looking for, I want it to come into that area and bounce. Maybe it come back down to the lower end of this channel. And if today we see the market setting up, coming into this area, this would be the target area to go long. Okay, thank you for watching. Have a good day trading and trade safe.